All right, welcome everyone. This is the fall 2025 orientation for the online MA in Math program. So what I want to do is just go over some information. Some of this is stuff that maybe you've heard before. Some of this are things that are new for this year or updated information for this year. But just sort of go through some important reminders about the program for the next semester and really the next academic year. And yeah, so let's get started. Um, so uh, the first is just to remind you of some folks you may be getting communication from. So obviously, I'm Dr. Quinn Morris. I'm the graduate program director here in the Department of Mathematical Sciences. Our chair is Dr. Tracy Salinas, and our assistant chair is Dr. Bill Cook. You may at times interact with one or both of them with for issues related to course registration, and if you ever had any issue, certainly you could bring it to me, but if you wanted to bring it to the attention of Dr. Salinas, our chair, there is her contact information. New this year, last year, Miss Tiffany Williams was our graduate student teaching coordinator. She has actually is leaving Appalachian. She's accepted a position at Mayland Community College. And so now Miss Jennifer Williams is going to serve as our interim graduate teaching coordinator for this next year. You may not have much interaction with her unless possibly through a teaching apprenticeship or something you may. But she's also involved with certain aspects of the graduate program. And then we have our administrative and our academic support associates, Miss Denise Edwards Ford and Miss Astrid Sosa. You're probably more likely to have interaction with Miss Sosa, who does a lot of our permits. So if you need a permit to register for a course, you may be instructed to email her. Miss Edwards Ford handles more of our budgetary stuff. So again, probably won't be interacting with her that much, but another resource in the department. So I've just listed all these people here. You can also find them all on the website. And if you ever had questions or anything, these would be people to reach out to. They may also be people who may reach out to you at times. So I like to sort of at least put their names out there. So if you see an email from Dr. Bill Cook, hopefully that at least rings a bell as like, oh, this is someone, who might be emailing me from the department. Um, I will also, just FYI, I'll be sending out these slides as well, so you'll have access to all of them as well. There's no need to write down all this information. Um, when I first took over as graduate program director, there were some faculty who sort of, were complaining that, oh, the graduate students do this or don't do that or whatever it may be. And it sort of became clear to me that we needed to have a common set of expectations for our graduate students. Um, and some of these you may look at and go, well, of course I would do that. And some of them you may say, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. But the whole idea here is just to be clear about what is going to be expected of you as a graduate student, just sort of in terms of your general conduct of yourself as a student. So the first is, the expectation is always that you will attend class, right? Certainly we understand that life happens. Faculty members, life happens to us too. Um, but I say this, the expectation is attendance. And so when something happens, the expectation would be that you communicate with the faculty member whose course you're in that, hey, sorry, this thing happened. As soon as you practically can let them know that that would be sort of the expectation. Again, if you are violently ill, and it takes you a day or so to get back to them, that's totally fine. But again, the expectation is that you will attend class, and if you're not going to be there, that you'll communicate about what's going on. The second piece is just, whatever the assignment due date is, that's when the assignment is due. Again, life happens. We all understand that. But if you can be in communication, if there's a major assignment due, one weekend and you're supposed to be out of town at a family wedding that weekend, maybe just let the faculty member know in advance, hey, I have this thing going on. Would it be possible to shift, like maybe it's a take-home test. Would it be possible to shift the dates of that test a bit? Would it be possible to, do X, Y, or Z to mitigate that? So again, the expectation is, assignments are due when they're listed as being due. And that, it's not sort of a situation where, oh, well, I'll just turn it in 2 or 3 days later, no problem. You need to reach out to the faculty member. The third expectation, and I think this is especially important, some of these around communication are especially important for our online students just because, right, faculty aren't necessarily going to just physically run into you in the building, right? So the third expectation is that when you need help, you will seek it out. If you're struggling in a course, reach out to the faculty member. Um, don't wait and just, oh, I don't want to ask, and then it gets late, late in the semester and you're still struggling. When you need help, seek it out. The faculty are all here to support you. Just because you're online doesn't mean you're the second, consideration. You all are students just like any other student in our program. But when you need help, and by the way, these are the same expectations I give our in-person students more or less. So this is exactly the same thing I tell them. You need to seek out help. You need to know when you're struggling and may need some help. Um, you may need to reach out to your faculty member, but you may also want to reach out to me. If something's going on that might affect your ability to successfully complete the program in a particular semester or require you to, take a leave of absence or something like that, just reach out to me. My job is to help you be successful in this program and to achieve your goals. So I want to provide you the support that I can in doing that, but the earlier you do that, the better. Um, that brings us to the fourth one, which really is sort of along the same lines, but just more generally, maintain open lines of communication. If you anticipate that something could potentially be a problem, give a heads up beforehand. Just again, the more we can be in communication, the better. The more options, the earlier we communicate, often the more options we have in how we might solve a potential issue that could come up in the future. So, just let me know, let your faculty member know, um, uh, you know, just be in communication, because that really will make things a lot easier. Um, the the fifth piece is that learning doesn't stop just because, the Zoom meeting has ended, right? So I think, there's sometimes I think a feeling in undergrad that, well, I'm going to learn everything. If I just go to class and I listen and I do what I'm supposed to do in class, then I'll just learn the material, right? And that's sort of it, right? And I might have to do some work, but when I go to class, I learn, and then I just complete some work, and that's sort of what I do. Um, at some point, and for some people, I think it happens towards the end of undergrad, but you're not going to fully digest everything that is said in a particular math class just while you're sitting there, right? Like, I would love to think that my lectures, my recorded lectures, are just so perfect and pure that you'll just leave one and go, "Oh, I perfectly understand this." But realistically, like, that's not how anybody does math, right? You hear it, you maybe see an example, then you try an example, you realize you didn't quite understand something. Maybe you go back and watch a recording again, maybe you try again. But again, the expectation is sort of, you're not going to stop learning just because, okay, well, the Zoom ended, I didn't understand it, but I'm just going to, oh well, class is over. Um, Graduate school is going to require some work and some thought and some time to digest outside of the classroom. That doesn't mean you're all on your own. That doesn't mean don't reach out for help. Please do. See the above bullet points. But don't expect that, oh well, okay, class is over and I didn't get it, so I just don't get it. No, learning doesn't stop just because we're not in class anymore. We want to continue that process. Um, the final expectation, and again, I want to emphasize this even more, especially for those of you who are online. We hope that you will contribute to sort of the larger community of students. Whether that is potentially meeting up with each other via Zoom, to review things or study or work on homework assignments together, assuming that's allowed in your particular course. Whatever that is, we hope that you will not just be an individual, isolated, student who's sort of joining in this class, but we hope that, you'll have some opportunities to really contribute to a larger community, and that when you do have those opportunities and you're able, that you will do that. Because again, I think that will enhance not only sort of just your experience in the program, but it'll also contribute to your own education. Some of the sort of best learning experiences I think I had in graduate school came from working with others, seeing how somebody else did a problem or just thought about a problem or approached, this particular situation or type of proof. Those were really valuable learning opportunities, and I hope that, again, to the extent that those opportunities present themselves, and to the extent that your work situation and life situation allows you to, that you'll take advantage of that. All right. Um, So I just want to remind you of a few things. AppleNet is sort of our online system that has all sorts of resources. It's where you access your registration, student accounts. From there, you can also access Gmail, although you can just go directly to Gmail and log in. Um, and it also has access to DegreeWorks, which has your program of study in there. As You Learn is our online system for course material access. Currently, that is just an instance of Moodle. So if you've used Moodle before, then you may be familiar with that. However, we did learn earlier, or well, I guess late last month, that Appalachian will be transitioning to Canvas sometime in the future. It won't be for the fall semester, but I, at this time, don't know whether we will transition in the spring semester, whether we will transition next fall. As I have more information about that, I will let you know. But currently, we're still using As You Learn, which is an instance of Moodle, um, for our online course delivery. Um, Most of your instructors will probably use that in some way, shape, or form, although occasionally there are faculty who may just use a website, but they will communicate to you how you will access course material. Zoom, obviously, you found your way into Zoom. I would just remind you that you actually have a pretty nice like paid account through Zoom, basically. So you can set up longer meetings and you can use Zoom for all sorts of stuff. By using your App State email. So feel free to take advantage of that. You also have access to the full Google Suite, so Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets, etc. Um, you now have access to the Google Gemini AI, if that's something you want to make use of. Again, assuming you're using it in a way that's appropriate for, if you're using it for coursework, that it's a way that's appropriate and allowable for that course. You also, as a student, have a bunch of software available. So there's all sorts of different software available to you as a student. I've just listed a couple of things there. And finally, our IT tech support. If you just go to that web address there, they have lots of guides and resources just online to do things. You can also submit a support ticket, or you can reach out to them at that number there, if you're having issues with any software or anything like that, login, anything like that. All right. So just a brief reminder about sort of the curriculum for the program. So everyone, regardless of what concentration you're in, is required to take Analysis 1, Computational Probability, Stats 1, Linear Algebra, Math Modeling, and complete some sort of research project and a pedagogy seminar. Um, so analysis one, and I've put here and sort of beside them when they are guaranteed to be offered online again. So analysis one, which is Math 5610, is being offered this fall, and we'll sort of rotate through the other ones. If you are in the college teaching concentration, then you're also required to take analysis two, which will be offered this coming spring online. Um, Also, the pedagogy course is being offered this fall online. That's Math 5910 Investigations in Teaching Mathematics. Um, but you see there also the sort of secondary and college teaching concentration requirements. Again, I think with each of you, I've worked out a individual sort of program of study that should sort of walk through this and should sort of comply with these requirements. But just wanted to sort of remind you of those sort of core requirements and also when they would be offered uh, online. All right. Um, in terms of everyone's required to do a research course and a sort of pedagogy type seminar. So for the college teaching capstone, that looks like completing 3 hours of directed research, which is Math 5600, and a 1 hour pedagogy seminar, Math 5415. The pedagogy seminar is taken usually it's in your last spring semester. We just offer it online whenever someone needs to take it online, so you don't have to worry about when it's going to be offered online. Um, and you will complete, as part of that process, a teaching portfolio. If you're in the secondary teaching concentration, it's actually split up a little bit differently. So you take Math 5520, which is capstone research. This is a sort of pedagogical research project that must involve high school students or teachers or administrators, but it must involve sort of people in a high school. And then you also complete a product of learning. That's 2 credit hours, Math 5525. The first hour is taken in your first semester. The last hour is generally taken in your last semester. And we work on putting together a portfolio that's required for the advanced licensure that our secondary teaching concentration leads to. There is a comprehensive exam. So the comprehensive exam covers material in four of our required courses. So analysis, and that really should say analysis one. It does not cover analysis two. So analysis one, linear algebra, modeling, and statistics. And the comprehensive exam comes in two parts. So the first is what we call sort of the in-class part. Um, it still says 2.5 hours. Um, Realistically, what we actually do in practice is you have you, generally we start you. It's always on well, it's almost always on a Saturday, and we'll talk about I have the particular dates for this coming fall and spring. Um, it's on a Saturday. It'll start at 9:30 in the morning. We'll meet via Zoom at 9:30 in the morning to sort of get you started. You have until 5 o'clock to turn everything in. So we sort of anticipate that you could complete it in 2.5 hours, but we give you plenty of time to do that. And then what will happen is as soon as you finish the in-class part, the take home portion will open, and the take home portion will be due the following Saturday. So you'll basically have an entire week to work on the take home portion. Um, Again, generally this is offered once per semester and at least once in the summer. Sometimes we'll offer it twice in the summer, usually maybe once early summer and once late summer, but always offered once per semester. Um, I've put the dates for fall and spring, fall 25 and spring 26 below. If for some reason you are looking at that right now and thinking about taking it, so you should not take the comprehensive exam until you have completed the four courses above. So analysis one, linear algebra, modeling, and statistics. Um, but if you're looking at one of those dates, and again, I'll use example of a wedding, you're looking at it and going, well, I want to take it Saturday, April 18th, but the my sister's just set her wedding date for that date. Let me know. We will work on figuring something out. I'm not going to make you miss your sister's wedding to take a comprehensive exam. So we'll get it sorted out. But again, back to open lines of communication. The earlier you can let me know, the better. Um, the exam is graded sort of in one big piece. So one possibility is, you could fail the exam. You could earn an indeterminate. So indeterminate typically means that you might have done pretty well on some parts, but maybe some other parts you had some issues. And what we want you to do is redo some of those parts. So we would give you initially a grade of indeterminate, and you could rework those parts to potentially then earn a pass. You could, of course, just outright pass it. You could also earn a grade of a high pass. Again, you have to earn either a pass or a high pass in order to earn the degree. Um, and so, yeah, so that's sort of how the grades work. Um, so that's just a little bit about the comprehensive exam and what to expect there. As we get closer to that, I have materials that I can share about, well, what topics, because sometimes, right, it may have been 2 or 3 years since you took one of these courses and you want to review, so we have some sort of basic study guides. I mean, they're fairly short, like 1 page per course of just like, hey, you need to go back and review this stuff. So there's more material to help you prepare for this, but for now, I'll just sort of give you this general overview. Um, as a student, you are automatically enrolled in our textbook rental program. So the way the textbook rental program works is that you are charged a fee. It's $125 per semester. And by virtue of paying that fee, the textbook rental program will provide you with access to your textbooks and course materials, either digitally or physically. In most cases, it's digitally, although occasionally, if they can't get the resource digitally, they will give you a physical textbook for the duration of the semester in exchange for that fee. So for a graduate student, that fee is $125 per semester, and it will be billed to your student account unless you opt out of the program. Now, for many of our graduate students, often they will choose to opt out. The reason being, uh, often the total cost of your course books, if you just wanted to purchase them, particularly if you're willing to purchase them used, is less than $125. So I'll give you an example. This semester in Analysis 1, we'll be using Introduction to Real Analysis, an educational approach. Um, it is available as a free PDF download through the library. So if the only class you're taking is Analysis 1, if you pay the rental fee, then for $125, they're going to provide you digital access to the textbook that you could have gotten for free. Now, sometimes it can be a little harder, right? Sometimes you may have, you may be taking two classes and maybe the total for your books is a little bit more than that. And you want. So what I encourage students to do is go to the first week of class, okay, see what sort of books you're going to need, okay, and then revisit this and determine whether you want to opt out or not. Now, if you opt out, you won't be charged the fee, but you also won't have electronic access to the textbook. So you'll have to go and purchase it, separately on your own. The deadline to opt out is fairly soon, though. It's August 29th. To opt out, what you do is you just send an email to optout@appstate.edu. You basically say, hey, my name is such and such. Here's my ID number. I would like to opt out of the textbook rental program. They will then opt you out of it. You will lose access, and they will also remove that $125 fee from your account. Um, I will uh, I will schedule a reminder to go out about this as we get closer to that date. But just something to think about. I don't want you to be charged money if you're not getting anything out of it. So just something to keep in mind. All right. I've stuck a couple of important dates here for fall 2025. I won't belabor these. Just a couple quick ones to point out. Just a reminder that the first day of classes is next Monday. Um, the through the first week you can sort of drop an ad for free, right? So you can, if you end up in a class and you get the syllabus and you go, oh, this isn't going to work, you can drop something, add something else, no penalty. No, you don't need any special permission to do that. um so you can do that through that Friday. But then after that, it becomes harder to make those sorts of changes. You can still drop a class up until October 22nd, but you will be charged some prorated amount of tuition for that class. And so you will be charged for it if you drop it after Friday. But there won't be an academic penalty. Nothing will show up on your transcript if you drop it before October 22nd. You can see final exam dates there. The other thing I'll just point out is because it comes up fairly quick, that September 1st is a holiday, so there won't be any classes on September 1st. October 13th and 14th are our university fall break, so there won't be any classes then. And then the 26th to 28th is Thanksgiving. And that link at the bottom will actually take you to the full academic calendar. There's a million different dates, but you can also see the dates for spring 26 on there. You know, if you're wondering when spring break might be, or you're trying to plan something, you can find those dates there. All right. Um, if any of you are planning to graduate this semester, just a reminder that commencement will be on Friday, December the 12th at 5 p.m. That's the big university commencement, you know, where the chancellor speaks and you walk across the stage. But we also our department holds a hooding ceremony, typically it says morning, but could be morning or afternoon, since we're at 5 p.m. this year. Um, Sometime in the day prior to the big graduation. If you are planning to graduate, you do need to submit a graduation application. That just tells the university, hey, I'm finishing all my requirements and I want you to give me my degree. And you have to do that by September 30th. That link there will take you to more information about how to submit the graduation application. And so that is all I have prepared. So, for those of you who are viewing this as a recording, feel free to send me an email if there are any questions you have lingering. And if not, have a great start to your semester and just be in touch as needed.